in the studio today is professional triathlete Morgan Pearson. He represented the United States in the Olympic triathlon in both Tokyo and Paris. He's got 2 silver medals from the mixed relay, and he's also kind of a sneaky professional runner because he just ran a 61-minute half marathon 2 weeks ago, which is insane, the ability for him to be able to do triathlon and running at a super high level. So in the podcast today, we dive into his background a little bit. We talk a lot about his training, specifically some of the marriage between running and triathlon, how he's managing that. And we also talk a little bit about the Olympics, his experience there, some of the social media things that he's famous for, and what's next for him in the future here as we head into another Olympic cycle. And he does his first long course race here in a couple weeks. So I really enjoyed this conversation with Morgan. It was great to catch up with him, and I know you're going to enjoy it too. Enjoy this one with Morgan. Peace. All right, welcome to another episode of Endurance Matters. I'm your host, Justin Metzler. On the podcast today is Olympian Morgan Pearson. Morgan, welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. It's great to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's awesome to have you on. Well, I start the podcast off with a hard-hitting question. So the question for you is, would you rather do a marathon, but you can only swim and bike in training, or would you rather do a triathlon, but you can only run in preparation for the race?
Do a triathlon and only run.
Yeah. You think you'd be fine with the swim and bike?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I would do well particularly, but a marathon is, I mean, what am I doing in an Ironman or?
Yeah, let's call it an Ironman because then it's equal.
Ooh, if it's an Ironman, then I'd do the marathon.
Yeah.
With just swim and bike. But if it was like a half Ironman or less, I'd pick the triathlon.
That's a good answer. That's a good answer. Well, cool. Yeah, I want to hear definitely more. Like, I've got a lot of questions about training and a lot of questions about the Olympics and stuff like that. But I want to rewind a little bit. So tell me a little bit about your upbringing and your background in sports.
Sure. So I'm from New Jersey, and my mom. I had 3 brothers, and my mom decided to sign us up for swim lessons. I think she read in a magazine that if you do swimming, you get better grades or something like that. So we signed up for the swim team when I was quite young. I think 3rd grade or something like that. And basically swam from then until high school. Senior year, I was still on the team. Of course, I started doing like cross country in 7th, 8th grade, a couple weeks a year, running, a couple months. And then by the time I was a senior in high school, I was like really into the running thing, much better at running than swimming. So I was running, 60 miles away. I have no clue, and then swimming maybe like twice a week. So basically I had a great background for the triathlon, but I decided to go to college to run. Went to Duke for a year, transferred to CU, did all right, but nothing like, I was a good runner, not Olympic level runner out of college. So I decided after college, I ran for like a year, worked some odd jobs and stuff, but I decided to give the triathlon a go. And starting in 2018, I basically went all in. The goal was to make the Olympics, and I guess that's the story in a few sentences.
Yeah, no, that was a very good, fast recap. I want to rewind a little bit. Like, were you recruited by USA Triathlon to do triathlon, or how did that first enter your life?
It was kind of a mix, like, of both, in the sense I actually reached out to them initially because I was running after college, and I didn't really have like a really good plan graduating college, which, for better, for worse, I think some people know exactly what they want to do with the rest of their life, and others are less confident in what they want to do. And I knew I loved running. I felt like I had a lot left in the tank, but it was hard. Like I was working different jobs, trying to make it. I didn't really have anyone kind of like telling me what to do, how to do it. I was just kind of figuring out by myself, which probably wasn't the best thing. But through all that, I got kind of frustrated, just feeling like I had, I was a little bit like my life was a little bit out of control, and I was like, I swim. So I actually reached out to USA Triathlon. Simultaneously, I actually started running really well and did get a small running contract. So I was like, I'm getting good at running now, and like I'm going to pursue this. And then at the same time, USA Triathlon was recruiting me. So it was kind of like I reached out to them initially, but then running started going well, and then they started really recruiting me heavily. And then that's that's kind of what happened.
What was the incentive to stick with triathlon versus continue with the professional running? Was it not financially viable? Was your motivation all in triathlon at the time? How did that work out?
Well, simply put, I wanted to go to the Olympics. And for me, I've said this before, but like growing up as a swimmer and runner, like the Olympics is, the pinnacle of those sports. And while I definitely wasn't a good enough swimmer. And if I was being honest with myself, probably wasn't a good enough runner to make the Olympics in running. When I was getting recruited by USA Triathlon, obviously they're recruiting you, they're saying these nice things about you, but I thought that was maybe my best option to make the Olympic team. So it was hard. It was hard to walk away from running because, I loved it, and I still felt like I had improvements to be made. But of course, running is part of triathlon, so it's not like I was like quitting it altogether. So I think that was part of it too. It made it a little bit easier to transition.
Sure. In that first year of professional running, would there have been a race result or a time that you would have run that would have maybe kept you on the running track and kept that Olympic dream alive in running, or did you not feel like that was going to happen in the first year or two of professional running?
Well, I think one thing that actually happened that kind of accelerated the process was I actually got injured. So, I ran indoors and I ran like 7:49 and won the race in a 3K, which is pretty good. I mean, these days, high school kids are probably running that, but back then it wasn't like a world-class time or anything, but it was the fact that I won the race. The indoor season went well. It was encouraging, but I actually, I was about to do a 10K on the track, and because of that, I signed up for a local race at CU, and it was like I think I did a 1500 at just a local race, kind of prime, like it's, I think a lot of runners, they have a big race, they might want to do a kind of a tune-up workout, or in this case, I just jumped in a race, and then I remember I did that. I did well. It wasn't anything special, but it was the middle of training, 1500 altitude. I won the race again. But then I came home and I remember my foot started hurting, and I had a stress fracture in one of my metatarsals, and that made it, that accelerated the triathlon stuff, because I think, who knows, but I think the USA Triathlon people were like, oh, we'll send you a bike so you can cross train, and like we'll link you up with some swim groups so you can cross train. So I was like, all right, great. And I think that was kind of when I really started taking it more seriously, because I actually like getting on the bike, and I mean, I lived in Boulder then too. And like, it's a beautiful place to bike, going up and down, Lee Hill or something. Like I was biking up these like climbs, and I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool, pretty fun. And then getting back in the pool, like from, I took like 5 years off or whatever it was from high school. I was like, wow, I'm actually, it's coming back quicker than I expected. So stuff like that all kind of accelerated the process. So yeah, I mean, when I was, a runner, I wouldn't say there was one race that kind of wanted to keep me in it. Yeah, so maybe for the better.
Yeah, for sure. I've got some questions here about your training. I don't know too much about it, so I'm curious to get into it a little bit. But from my perspective, you're pretty well known for liking to go hard in training.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's funny because I don't really I share a lot on social media, but I actually don't share very much specific.
Yeah, totally.
With my training. So I think people think things that aren't necessarily true, but I definitely train hard. Like I definitely work really hard, and it's my job, and it's like 100%. So yeah, that's certainly true.
There are some athletes, listeners of the podcast will know I like to get into the weeds a bit on Strava and stuff, and sometimes I'll poke around on yours, but like you said, you're not like completely 100% transparent like some other athletes that share everything that they're doing. And so my question is, I want to get a little bit more into the training, but my question is, in the coaches that you've had in triathlon, have you butted heads with any of them because of your desire to do things one way, and they're maybe trying to like put you in a box or hold you back at all, or has it always been collaboration with the coaches?
Yeah, I mean, totally. I mean, I'm coached by Ryan Bolton right now, who's he actually coaches a lot of, or in the past, like Ironman and long course athletes.
Yep.
And one thing I really appreciate about him as a coach is he is really open to like collaboration and because he doesn't live here, so I think, and he was an athlete himself, so I think he knows like it's about the day to day is really important, and being able to go swim with a group or just like setting up your life in a way that is conducive to training well is almost as important as the workouts themselves. So in the past I feel like I had coaches that were maybe more like my way or the highway, whereas now it's still, when I talk to guys who are coached by Ryan, especially on the short course, because they'll show up to a WTS and we'll talk about training, and it's like a lot of it's the same, but it's just like maybe my week's just set up a little bit differently. Like lately I've been doing, my long runs on Wednesday instead of over the weekend, or like my long rides on Tuesday instead of a lot of athletes are doing over the weekend, but just little things like that. So that's been really, really cool to work with Ryan for.
What is the reasoning behind maybe doing things differently? Like those guys would probably, I know Ryan's plan well enough to know that they do long ride every Saturday, long run every Sunday. Like why would you change it to a Tuesday, Wednesday?
So for example, there's the Stages group ride, which is, it's only about an hour, but I really, as a short course athlete, we ride in the pack. It's surgy. It's, getting those reps in with the group is pretty important, I'd say, especially for me who, I didn't grow up biking. So being able to do that as part of my long ride, some of these guys are down in Phoenix and they go to the, what's that famous?
The shootout.
The shootout. And like that one's really, that's a world-class ride and stuff, but at least I'm getting some reps and there is good riders there. So that is one tweak. For example, getting on the track around town, it's not always the easiest, but if you go on a Sunday, you can, class is not in session. So sometimes there's, sports games and stuff like that, but you can almost always find a clear track. So it's little stuff like that where, it's not, it doesn't seem really important. However, if you can make your life that much easier, like if I don't have to wake up at 5:30 on a day that's 20 degrees out and I can wait until 9:30 and it's 40, that's that's decrease in injury stuff. I'm recovering better, getting better sleep. So stuff like that does make a big difference, I think.
Yeah, for sure. I know Bolton's plan. I was down in Tucson this winter and got to know him a little bit and just have observed training from Jason Pohl or Sam Long previously. Ryan's known for having pretty high volume, high intensity. Is your plan also high volume, high intensity? And what kind of sort of like weekly hours are you averaging?
So the thing about Ryan's training I've noticed is like the total volume in the week isn't, I don't think it's that crazy. I'm sure if you were, never done triathlon in your life, you might find it, intimidating. But for me, it's like, he does some really big sessions and they're not even like the paces or the power output is like crazy, but it's more like, wow, we're doing 10 miles of hard, one session we do is, it's an 18-mile run, and within that, it's a 4-mile piece, whatever you want to call it, 4 mile, 3, 2, 1. So that's 10 miles of hard running. Like that's a pretty big, meaty session. Yeah. So that's when I hear people talk about that stuff with Ryan's training, that's what I think of. Like I've been doing some 5-hour rides lately. Even leading up to the grand final a few weeks ago, like I was doing some 5-hour rides. I'm sure there's a lot of short course athletes that aren't doing anything close to a 5-hour long ride. But I think, I like it. It's one of those things where I think it's a healthy challenge. When I started getting coached by Ryan, I think coaches in the past it was almost always they're trying to hold me back. Yeah. And I think, people, that's the sign of a good coach. And I think that's true. And Ryan does hold me back, but I think there's more nuance to it. And I think being challenged in training is also important. You don't want to be, you don't want to feel like you're always being held back. I've had coaches like that in the past, and it's like that leaves something to be desired. And I think you're not going to reach your potential. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. Sponsor of today's episode is Precision Fuel and Hydration. These guys have been an awesome partner of mine for many years, and I really love the entire product line. They helped me tremendously when it came down to getting my fluid needs sorted out, getting my electrolyte needs organized, and also just figuring out how many carbs per hour I needed. And they have an entire product line that has a lot of variety and different options for you. So my favorite option from them is the PF30 Chew. I sort of take them out of their wrapper and load them into my top tube storage compartment on my bike and just munch on those every 20 or 30 minutes when I'm out doing a hard training session or doing a race. They also have a bunch of sweat experts over there who can help you figure out exactly what your fluid, carbohydrate, and electrolyte needs are. So head on over to pfandh.com. Redeem code BigMetz15. Once again, that's BigMetz15 via the link provided. Is there anything in reflection of your life when you were professionally running compared to life as a professional triathlete that you miss?
I mean, being a professional runner, that's a bit of a stretch to say that I was. I did have a lot more free. When I say free time, I still worked. I still had some jobs and stuff, and I mean, I definitely had more. Let's be honest. Pro running, you have more time. Like, I was actually talking to my friend, and we were talking. Basically, he's like, "Yeah, this is how I fill my day as a pro runner," and I'm like, "I never have that problem.
Yeah.
Like, it's usually the opposite of
For sure.
how can I actually take time to relax and get in those a couple hours in the middle of the day where I'm actually recovering." So, I mean, it's hard. It's hard, long hours, but I mean, I'm sure you're the same. I mean, I know you're the same. It's one of those things where when you're in it, it's like, oh, this kind of stinks. But I think when you really think about it, you're like, I actually, I love this. This is like, I want to do this. So
there's nothing else I'd rather do than train for 5-6 hours every day or go do a 5-hour ride. That's the best thing. And you can't really do that in professional running, right? Or even full-time running. You're not going to run more than 2.5 hours, right? In the build up to a marathon.
Yeah. I mean, I know some runners that have done 3-hour runs in their marathon build up. But yeah, I mean, that's like a middle of the week ride for a triathlete. That might be
for sure
a recovery ride for someone.
Yeah, 100%. I'm curious to. I want to circle back to Ryan a little bit. He is the high performance director for USA Triathlon in addition to being your coach. Is that true?
Yeah. So. Yeah, I mean, because when I started working with Ryan, I was coming off an injury, and I kind of, had whatever. Me and my other coach separated, and it was 2022, and it was just the kind of the second half of the year, and he was just like, "I'll help you kind of get back into shape," and then I raced well, so then I just was like, "Okay, I want to keep doing this." So, yeah, I mean, he works for USA Triathlon, and he coaches some USA Triathlon athletes. I mean, I know his role is very involved. I'm probably not the person to to explain his role.
Sure.
Because I know he does a lot that I don't know about behind the scenes, and but he's at a lot of the races, which is as an athlete really nice.
Yeah. I guess my question is, what is your aside from your relationship with Ryan, what is your perception or perspective or opinion on USA Triathlon high performance as a whole?
I think, well, it's funny. This maybe not the nicest thing, but I would say describe it right now as a bit inconsistent. They've had a lot of even the time that I've done the sport, which isn't that long, they've had a lot of turnover of staff. I would say that no one has. It's a completely new group of people from when I started, and. So it's, there is some things that I'm really grateful for. And then there's other things I wish they did better, but I think that's any job and boss and, or federation and, team or whatever, it's a weird, whatever, the high performance team is it's hard to compare to something else, but if you do compare it to another job, there's always going to be problems. And, everyone has their opinion. Everyone has the right to their opinion.
Yeah.
Everyone has the right to want to be supported as an athlete. I mean, if I know, there's athletes where I'm like, in my mind, it's why are you demanding so much from them?
Sure.
You don't like you haven't shown, you don't deserve what you're asking for. But like at the end of the day, like these athletes believe in themselves and they want to be their best. So like they have the right to do that. So yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting. I think they're kind of going through some changes now at the end of, obviously the Olympic quad is kind of like, a beginning and an ending. So
Sure.
it'll be, and like even I've only done one WTS since Paris, but I've noticed little changes that I liked. So I appreciate little things that are changing. And personally, I believe some small changes can really go a long way and snowball into something greater. So
Yeah, and you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I mean, you guys got 2 Olympic medals. That's great. And there were no Olympic medals in the individual races for Tokyo or Paris for the U.S.
Katie Zafiris got bronze.
Zafiris, correct,
in
bronze.
Tokyo. Yeah.
Yeah, so you don't want to totally rewrite the script because there was some success there, but of course, like the goal is, of course, to get gold medals and have more individual medals, and obviously progress.
Yeah, the goal is to get 7 medals to sweep the podium, men and women, and get the relay gold. So
Easy.
we failed.
Yeah, that's Morgan's got like the highest standards for anybody out there.
I mean, that's the goal,
Yeah.
We didn't even qualify 3 men. So
Yeah, totally.
we were.
Can you explain a little bit to me and maybe the listeners, and maybe you can't because you don't know or whatever, but can you just explain a little bit like the importance of the USA Triathlon funding for athletes like yourself and some of the other athletes, and maybe some of the discrepancies in what athletes are receiving versus their actual performance on the race course?
Yeah, I mean, so the really big thing with the funding, I think, is like honestly just travel to races.
Totally.
I mean, there was a WTS in China, there was a WTS in Abu Dhabi. There's gonna be one in Czech Republic next year. So, like they're just all over the world, and like, that's not easy for. That's a lot of, like, let's be honest, that's just a lot of money to fly there, get a hotel room. So I think the fun, for us, whether you're, the top level funded athlete or just a development athlete, as I once was, being able to go to those races, not feel like you're losing money. And that's, it's really important for us. And for better, for worse, as a short course Olympic distance triathlete in the U.S., like the sponsorships they're not as easy to come by. I think Ironman is kind of where more, like, especially in the U.S., which makes sense. I mean, age groupers do Ironman. They go to the races. They see the pros. They see you riding MV wheels. They see Sam Long riding a Trek, like, and that intrigues them. Whereas us, it's like some of our races, there's an age group race, age group element, but a lot of them there's not. There's niche fans. A lot of them are in the U.S. it's a smaller group of fans, and it's definitely not like, it's not a super lucrative thing to do. I mean, I guess if you're winning every WTS, you can make the prize money is like worth it, I guess, if you do really well.
Sure.
But like we all know, it's hard to win a WTS.
Yeah,
it's hard
for
to
sure.
be consistent, and so just having that, travel, security, and hopefully they see it as they're building towards each Olympic Games, building towards winning medals for the Olympics, which, like you said, we did come home with the silver in the relay, and then 2 in Tokyo. So yeah, I think it is. I don't know exactly how it works. I think that's actually one thing after the Paris Olympics that I went to USA Triathlon, and I was just like, hey, I think it'd benefit everyone if it was more clear how this worked, why you make certain decisions. I mean, at the end of the day, like, we're all adults. Some of us are parents, have families. I'm in my 30s now. Like, it's just like, it's a job, and I feel like having that transparency is important. So that's actually one thing I asked for. Excuse me, after this past Olympics, and I'm not even like, oh, I deserve more money, like, because I know it's not, money doesn't grow on trees.
Sure.
And it's like it's not easy for anyone to just, come up with these dollars. But I think just transparency is really important. So
Yeah. Do you feel a responsibility for maybe some of the younger guys like Dar, John that you train with to be that spokesman for them or for yourself?
Yeah. No, I do. I mean, honestly, after Paris, I felt like if someone was going to say something, it was probably going to be me. And so I kind of decided to do that. I mean, yeah, like John, I mean, he's I don't 23 now. So he's approaching the point where he's going to be, contending every WTS and, he's already done really well, but he's not going to go to the head of USA Triathlon and be like, where's this money going? Why is it going there? It's not on his mind for one. And it's also just, it shouldn't be his responsibility. So, I mean, I think after being on the 2 Olympic teams, getting the 2 relay medals, like, I'm in a place now where, I might not, who knows, maybe I might not be in LA. I might not qualify. Maybe I'll call it quits. So I just felt like it was kind of mine, or maybe Taylor Knibb, but she's got a lot of other stuff going on.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Well, I want to circle back to, you had mentioned in 2022, you had a foot injury. That's kind of like a point of, a point that we kind of connected on because you were struggling with your foot quite a bit. That's when my foot started to sort of go a little bit. And we had kind of run into each other a little bit in training, swam together a couple times, did one memorable ride. I don't know if you remember that guy.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I still have the video on my phone.
Oh, yeah. Well, we could tell the audience a little bit about that. Like, I was out on a TT ride or whatever, just doing a 5-hour ride, and I saw Morgan at, like, this coffee shop gas station thing, and we team time trial back to town. What happened?
It was, from my perspective, was even more hilarious. So I was riding with my friend, and then we were just, we were on road bikes going, whatever, 180 watts, like whatever, just leisurely pace. And we just start riding with this French man, older guy. But I'm like, I don't know, this guy's nice. And this is what, 2019 probably?
Yeah, it was. I remember the bike I was on.
And this guy's just like, first off, no offense, like I couldn't understand half the words he was saying. But like, we're all out there. It's kind of like a wintry day, like whatever. We're just talking and trying to be nice. And then you just fly by us on your time trial bike. And this French guy goes, "Oh, a Challenger." And he just starts sprinting to catch up to you, and I'm just like laughing inside and honestly probably outside too. And so me and my friend, like, we're just like, we look at each other, we're like, we gotta go. And we just sprint and catch you, and then like just sit on your I don't know if you're doing an interval or just like riding pretty solid, and we like sit on your wheel until you kind of sit up, and you're just like, yeah, that's what I remember.
I think I looked back and like you were on my wheel, and then there was like a train of 8 guys behind that, and I'm like, and then I got into it, and we were all kind of doing it. Well, or whatever,
I think because I think like the guy was the first one to sprint, but then I like pace line with him to catch you. But I will never forget him. That's actually something I used to say, like with my friend. I'd be like, "Oh, a Challenger," just because that French guy. It was really funny.
Yeah, we like joked around about that at rally whenever we swam together. Be like, "Oh, a Challenger," or whatever. So, anyways, getting back to my line of questioning here, we had a mutual connection over both having a foot injury. I reached out to you to ask like who you had seen to get it looked at or whatever. What was the injury, and like what have you done to overcome that? Because it was a pretty significant injury, correct?
It's really hard to put in like to describe the injury. It was my ankle, Achilles, so like foot, and it just really hurt to run. And it would get worse as I ran. I mean, I remember one day, because anyone who struggled with Achilles stuff, it's not a straightforward, oh, you have a stress fracture in your shin, you have to take 8 weeks off running. You get back, you go down the Alter G for 2 weeks every other day, then you do walk run. Like, there's kind of a protocol for these sort of things. I feel like with Achilles, like if you go to see a PT and he's giving you a protocol to get over an Achilles, like I would just walk out the door, because he doesn't know what he's talking about, because it's not he just doesn't know what he's talking about. And I mean, I don't know either, so don't ask me for advice, but it's just it's hard to navigate. I mean, I remember I went out for this run, Bubble Link, it's like, it's a trail here in Boulder, flat, but in reality it's kind of net, like uphill on the way out, maybe like 1%, 2%, and the way back well, I guess depending on what side you start on, but the way back is net downhill. And most people, when they have an Achilles problem, going up hurts their Achilles more because the Achilles is more stretched out. And like if there's like that scar tissue, it's like it's under more tension. I was like fine going out. I did 3 miles out, and I had just taken some time off, and I flip, turn back. Within like 5 minutes, my Achilles was on fire. And I forgot to mention, like, there was not a lot of swelling in my Achilles going into this run, maybe a little. When I like stopped after flipping and jogging like 5 minutes, my Achilles had like quadrupled in size. It was like all this swelling was in like a mile of running. It was so painful, and I like walked it in, and I was just like, I was totally lost. I don't know, like it's hard to put like, oh, is this injury? It was, my Achilles was hurting. In the end, like I saw a guy, and basically there was like a lot of bones were, not moving well in my foot and out of place. And then over time there was scar tissue holding them there, so they couldn't kind of like move back into place. And it was just like, my foot was just basically like almost like a cast. I would describe like a cast, and this stuff was not moving at all. And everyone always talks about how there's like 100 bones in your foot, but like everything was just stuck or moving in the wrong place. And it just took someone who really knew what they were doing to basically just like help get rid of the scar tissue, help put things back into place. I think there's other things going on in my body with my hips that was kind of leading to this. So it was a tough year. Probably like 6 months of like very limited running. So that was difficult. Yeah. I know you dealt with a similar stuff.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, the Achilles is not linear by any means, because I mean, I did 2 years of Ironman training on my Achilles, and it hurt every day. And like, I'm sitting here, I just had surgery 3 weeks ago to finally try and fix the thing. But yeah, like Achilles is not easy.
Yeah.
You almost wish that you had a stress fracture. I wish I had gotten a stress fracture
Yeah.
instead.
Well, like you're like, oh, it's just like soft tissue. And then like 3 months go by, and you're like, I wish I just got a stress fracture.
I know.
Because you're like,
totally.
I at least know where I'm at right now.
Yeah, you at least have a timeline, whereas you could drag out the Achilles like me for 3 years.
Yeah.
And still never achieve high performance.
Yeah, it's really hard. But
yeah. Anyways, I'm glad you're over it. So you feel like you have a good grasp on everything now with it?
Totally. To be completely honest, like there's times where I could feel my Achilles, like it's ongoing, but I feel like as an athlete, I've really, I've learned a lot about my body, preventative measures. For example, my talus bone is which is a floating bone in the foot. Like I know that will pretty frequently, not that, maybe like once every 3 months, like just randomly come out of place.
Yeah.
And I know the exact feeling. Like I'll go for a run and I'll feel it, and I'm like, that's my talus bone out of place, and then I know who to go see and that sort of thing. So, I mean, it's not like anything; it's an ongoing journey. But knock on wood, it's it's not bothering me now.
That's great, man. You're giving me hope. You're giving me hope. Well, cool. I want to just talk a little bit. I have a whole line of questions here about like your maybe marriage or collaboration between running at a high level and doing triathlon. So you just ran a 61-minute half marathon in Valencia, which is like, that's professional running time.
Yeah.
That's very, very competitive. When did you decide that you were going to maybe incorporate some more running into what you're doing? I guess in like the last couple,
like running races.
Yeah, like running races, or like the cross country championships you've done in the winter and stuff. Like, when did that sort of? Why was triathlon maybe? How did you feel Did you feel as if that was going to be an addition to your triathlon thing, or is it its own thing?
Well, I think each running race is kind of its own unique thing. So, for example, I ran U.S. cross country in January, and I took all of October off, and I got, to be honest, I put on a little bit of weight and got out of shape. And the first WTS was in March, but it was in Abu Dhabi. And since I already qualified for Paris, I was like, I don't want to fly out there. I want to just, it's a lot of travel to go out there for a sprint distance race. The year before I went out there and I got COVID, and I want to optimize for Paris, whatever. So in that case, I almost just wanted something to sign up for and get me motivated to train, and like it served its purpose. I mean, I was training as a triathlete, so that one was a little more like, this is kind of just, it's I could train without a race, but it does help to have something on the calendar and, get excited, especially in those winter months, shorter days. And, obviously, the summer just feels so far away. Like for me, it was like almost a motivation thing.
Sure.
The half, that one was, that was more like I actually had a goal in mind, and it was after the Olympics, and I wanted to go there, and I enjoy it. To be honest, I enjoy it. It was after the Olympics, so I felt a little bit, maybe did it take away from triathlon? I don't think so. I mean, it was after the WTS, the final, and I don't think it really took anything away. I actually swam and biked, quite well there. So the run was actually the one that was not good. So yeah, I don't think it took anything away, but that was more just, I want to, see what I can do in a fast half. It was one of those things where the grand final was in Spain and Valencia was the weekend after. And I remember seeing that on the calendar, maybe like in June or something, like way before, and just being like, ooh, like that could be really cool. So each running race is kind of its own. It's not like I'm, it's like I need to run this time to be in this shape to run this time off the bike. It's more just each is unique.
Yeah. Are you doing anything in training in preparation for these races? Like even if it's subconsciously or in the back of your mind, like in the build up to the grand final in Valencia, are you out there doing your 4-3-2-1 run and thinking, I got to push this a little bit?
It's funny because I mean, I would say when I was swimming, I was focused on the final. When I was biking, I was focused on the final. When I was, trying to eat healthy in the gym, go to bed on time, whatever, all that stuff, I was focused on the final. But when I was running, I was focused on Valencia.
Yeah, for sure.
Like in that, from like Paris until, when I took a little break to like doing those races, it was like when I was in the run workouts, like that was my focus, if I'm being honest. And I think that's okay.
Yeah, for sure. Was there any moment, or in reflection, have there been moments where you're thinking about your training and you're beating other high-class professional runners, like at the cross-country championship or at Valencia, and thinking like there's something to triathlon training that's allowing me to be really competitive off not professional running mileage?
Yeah. I think that's a really, that's a great question. And I think the answer is not crystal clear to me, because there is aspects of triathlon training that I think really do, help me excel as a runner. But there's also aspects of triathlon, being a triathlete, triathlon training that I think detract from being a good runner. Let's just like physics, like carrying around 12 pounds of, upper body muscle is, that's helping me swim and I need it for the triathlon. But like just from a physics, like that's not helping me run. Like, let's just be honest.
Yeah.
So, but I'm also getting in, however many more hours in the pool on the bike that I, non-weight bearing, quote unquote cross training.
Sure.
So I think it's a nuanced question, and I don't have a perfect answer, but it's let's put it this way. If I ran, I'm running 50 to 60 miles a week and didn't do the cross training, I don't think I'd be running, getting fourth in US cross or, running 61. But if I was purely focused on running, maybe doing a little cross training as kind of a complementary piece, I think I could run faster than what I am. So that's kind of my best answer.
Sure. On your best day, with a year build up to each, what do you think your capacity is for half marathon time and a marathon time?
I think I want to break 60 in my life. A year build up, I think I could do that off triathlon training. So I think it'd be hard. I think I'd have to have a special day. A lot of things would have to go right. A year, yeah. I mean, who knows? Like, I mean, yeah, I think I could break 60. And then for the marathon, I don't know. I think the marathon is a different beast. I would like to think I could, let's put it this way. I would like to think I could, be competitive on the US circuit, like be competitive with the top guys and potentially, get top 3 at the trials. At what time I could run, I don't know, but
sure.
I think if, maybe it'd take more than a year for the marathon, but I think if, let's say, for example, for the next, I quit triathlon and was just all in on the marathon, I'm not saying I would do it, but I think I think I could stand on the U.S. Olympic trial start line with like a realistic shot of making the team. I mean, but who knows? I could be really bad at it.
Yeah. So we're 4 years out right now until LA. I think that if you're running even 101, if you get down to 59, you're probably in sub 210 shape for marathon.
Yeah, I think
what's the math? What's the runner math on that?
The thing is, like, when I do a half marathon, my legs are so destroyed. I've done 3 now, and I can't run for like 5 days.
Wow.
So to run twice that distance, and I do 18-mile long runs and 13 mile. It's not the distance, but it's the pace at that speed.
Yeah.
The point is, like, I think the half marathon is kind of like right now, given my training, to be competitive is the longest I can go.
Sure.
Whereas if I stepped to a marathon or like some random in between distance, I think the drop off would be significant.
Sure.
That being said, if I was really focused on running, I think I could definitely break 210. You never know, but I think so.
Yeah. Okay, so you've mentioned top 3 at the trials. That would mean that you make the LA Olympic marathon team. You've also mentioned going for your 3rd Olympic Games in triathlon. Are you planning on going for both the trials
No.
in marathon and triathlon for LA?
I don't think so. If I'm being fully honest, if I medaled in Paris in the individual, that was going to be my plan.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, if I medal, I'm going to try to make both.
Yeah.
And then Taylor Knibb actually did it, and I'm like, well, it's not even cool anymore.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So I need to find something else. But no, I think if I was going for LA, if I stay in the sport, I wouldn't do that. I still believe I can be consistent. I know I haven't been, but at the WTS level, I can be consistent with the top guys, and I'd probably be a bit older. But that being said, I started the sport a bit later, so I think LA maybe going all in for the triathlon would be the smarter call than trying to balance 2 things.
Yeah, and that's a tough balance. I want to talk a little bit more about the Olympic Games. Like, how was your build up to Paris, and did you have expectations coming in after winning Yokohama, which was the second to last race before the Olympics?
Yeah. I mean, I did. I expectations is a weird word. I was in shape. Like, I was in shape to do really well. I don't know if that was a medal. I don't know if that was a top 5, top 10, but I was training really well. I think there were certain things as an athlete I was lacking that I wish I focused on a little bit more in the years leading into the Olympics. That being said, that's not why I didn't medal, that's not why I didn't do well in the individual. This swim, the river current was really bad. I'm generally swimming top 15 or top 20, around 15th in these WTS races. There was a pack of 35, maybe even more, maybe like 38 or 35, and I missed it by like 15 seconds, which is a lot. 15 seconds in a short course race. So my swim was just really bad. It wasn't like I was swimming bad in training or anything. Like, I felt like I was in a great place in training, swimming wise. So yeah, I mean, I didn't prepare for the currents, from a strategic standpoint. I think that was, I remember talking to Flora, or not to Flora, but someone who kind of helps Flora out after, and she had like an amazing plan. I mean, it showed. She got out of the water like what?
It was like 60 seconds ahead of the pack, or maybe 30 or something.
Yeah, she had an incredible swim, and like, I swim with Flora, and she's not that much better than this next best swimmer. It's just when it's odd conditions like that, and you have a plan, and it's a good plan, and that really helps. And I just didn't do that. I made some really big mistakes with the currents, and Yeah, I guess I'll live with that.
Yeah. Are you taking like 100% personal ownership to that, or does that run it up the chain to USA Triathlon High Performance and say, hey guys, like you guys are all here with me to read these currents? Like,
Yeah.
what was that like?
I think it doesn't matter. Like at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. The Olympics happened and
Yeah.
the medals are given out and you can't go back in time. But I think as an individual, I can use it as a lesson for growth of how I'm going to prepare for races in the future. And I think USA Triathlon should also say, oh, wow, we need to look at these things, these unique circumstances throughout, like, and help our athletes. I think it can be an area of growth for me as an individual and the federation, and hopefully it is.
That's a good perspective. Overall, so you had your first Olympic Games in Tokyo, which maybe has a bit of an asterisk because it's 2021, it's still COVID, it's just probably a bit of a weird experience. But overall, and you had a silver medal at both of them in the mixed relay. Regardless of, or irregardless of the race results, how was your general experience comparing Tokyo to Paris?
Yeah, they were really different. I think they were. It's funny, the village was very similar. So everyone's like, oh, it's completely different. I actually found there was some similarities. Like the village was very similar. There's a lot of time spent in buses, getting to the pool, getting to our like little training center or whatever, cafeteria. So there was actually a lot of similarities. I would say the bigger difference was, after I finished racing and I stayed because I think the relay was a Monday, and I stayed a whole extra week. And my family, Molly, my girlfriend, was out there. My one of my best friends from high school was, I don't think all of them stayed till that next Monday, but just being able to experience the Olympics and that was pretty cool. So that was definitely the biggest difference was after I was done racing.
Sure. What was the night after the individual? What did the night after the individual race look like compared to the night after the mixed relay?
Not to get into any details to like throw anyone under the bus, but we had to do some we had to go to some sort of dinner for U.S. Foundation or something. I don't remember exactly after the individual. And it was just a long day. I mean, you're up
Sure.
really early for the race. Most people aren't like sleeping super well the night before the Olympics. I did my race and I remember getting on this bus to go back to the village and it was like really hot. It was full of people and I was crying because I was so upset with myself. And I was texting my girlfriend and she's like, oh, I'm like outside the stands or whatever. And like the bus is like pulling out and I go to the bus driver and I'm like, let me off. And I get out and I go find her and like, I probably sat out there for like an hour, maybe more. Eventually my friend Adam, meets up with us and we go get lunch and it was actually like, there's something nice about it. I mean, I was still really upset, but there was something nice about it. But that night was like, I never went back to the village. I never showered or like got changed. So I go to this this event and like, I'm like gross and sweaty and I'm just like in an awful mood. And like, they say they're going to give us dinner and they don't. And then everyone's in a bad mood. It was kind of like for lack of a better term, a shit show.
Yeah.
The night after the relay was, I think we actually had to do something similar, and it was a similar vibe of like they said there's gonna be dinner and there really wasn't that much food. I think it's more of a French thing than anything. But I think everyone was just I was just like so much, I think the medal itself was great, but also just like you just let off all that steam and it's just that like there's just that release, the release valve, and I was just able to like goof around and make fun of the situation a little bit more and make fun of myself. And I think I like ordered like a bunch of, because I think I just like ordered, I was like, I'm going to order a bunch of pizzas and like, just to like prove a point that they didn't give us dinner again.
Yeah.
And like, but then all of a sudden, like everyone's crowding around me eating the pizzas, and yeah, it was a lot more fun. I forget. I mean, I think we just like went back to my mom's apartment in Paris, like her Airbnb, whatever, and I think we like watched the relay. But I mean, everyone was so tired. Like, we were up so early because the relay was like at 8 a.m. So we were up at like 4. And yeah, I think everyone was just destroyed. Like, it's not like we raged or something.
Yeah. No, it's cool. It's interesting. It's an interesting comparison.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about social media and your presence on social media.
Yeah.
Some of the things that you're famous for. So you're an active poster, active engager. You've engaged in some of my content over the years. You're well known and probably most well known for popularizing your Zone 2 training. Yeah. Why is that like stuck with you, and why do you keep hammering home the Zone 2?
Yeah, well, so the whole like posting a lot thing, to kind of touch on that. So like about a year ago, my season ended kind of early, and I was just like, I have some sponsors, and it's just like, you stop racing, and then all of a sudden you're just like, why do they even want to sponsor me? Like, what am I doing for them? So I just kind of had this realization that like, this is the least I can do. They're literally like paying me to like do what I would do without them paying me.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, obviously maybe I wouldn't be using their gear or whatever, but it's just like, I think it's like a realization of like how lucky you are. Yeah. And I was like, I just kind of partially I wanted to give back to my sponsors. I think there was also part of me that was like, I do want to give back to the sport, and not just triathlon, but like specifically short course, because I feel like, triathletes in like some other communities, maybe and another reason why I might jump in some of these run races is like, I think it's good for, a triathlete to go to a run race and do well, because it shows like the level we're at.
Totally.
And I think it shows, so I kind of like, let me show some of my training and like show like, it's really serious, and we are really, the top guys are really, really good athletes. Like, I think, it's really impressive what some of these guys do. And I'm not talking about myself, like, it's just like seeing some of these guys training and like seeing them in a race. It's really impressive. And I think it's okay to not want to share that, and if that's not you, like, that's fine. But I think, as I've gotten a little older, and, it's just like, I want to show the world that like short course triathlon is like super serious, and, I can do it in a funny way and make fun of myself along the way, but it's not just like guys that aren't that good at running or swimming or biking. And then the Zone 2 thing, yeah, man, I don't know. It's just like, when I started doing that, I made a Zone 2 thing, and it was like, I think I was like 2 hours at Zone 2, like 250 watts or I don't know, 260 watts, which is like a workout that my coach gave me. And it just popped off. And I think then I did a running one, and it went crazy and even more. So I started making little trolls and stuff. One specific was on April Fool's. I was like, my favorite because people do double threshold now in running. And I was like, I did double Zone 2 long run.
What, like 20 in the morning? 20
yeah, it was like
evening?
20 in the morning, 16 at night, all at like sub 6 pace. And it was April 1st. So like, if you thought about it, it was obviously a joke. But yeah, people just love, I don't know why. It's just,
there's got to be some like nuanced trolling in there though, because like I'll see you posting like, 16 miles Zone 2, 5:37 pace. Is that real, or is that taking the piss?
I mean, I've done that. Like, I'll do that in training, and like maybe calling it Zone, like, so if I do that run, like, it's not 5:30, like I might run the first 10 miles at like 5:50, which I would say for me is Zone 2, and then like really pick it up like the last 6. So maybe it's not like maybe not every mile of it is Zone 2, but like, I don't know. I did that run, and like, I'm just going to call it a Zone 2. Like, It's not, I feel like people think I put more thought into it than I actually do. But yeah, I mean, I think it's cool. Like in the grand final, for us, 3 weeks ago now, there's age group world champs too for Olympic and sprint distance, and I guess they even have a relay too. And like, a lot of people were just like Zone 2, like on the course. So it's cool. Like it's cool for me to like hear that.
Yeah, for sure. And before Zone 2, you were popularized for your rules, Twitter rules.
The rules.
How did the rules come about? And are the rules still going? Or are you all into Zone 2 now? Like, where are the rules at?
the rules are ongoing, man. Like, I don't think I've had one in a while. And part of that is I don't have Twitter on my phone right now. I think,
Okay.
so I think that was more of a Twitter thing.
You got to get the rules going again,
I know.
man. The rules popped off.
I feel like there was a time when I was just like, I would think like, they would just come to me. Maybe it's like when you're thinking about it more.
Yeah.
But I don't know. They like don't come to me anymore. I think I do want to get to the point where there's 100 rules, and we're like at like 80 or something. So, yeah, I should bring that back.
What's your favorite rule? And what number is it?
Well, we made a shirt and it said, I think it's 7. Make your normal life a training camp.
Perfect.
And I like that rule. I think there's some truth to it if you're trying to be.
I like the overtrain until it's not overtraining anymore. That's my favorite. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's some truth to that one too.
Yeah, for sure.
Coaches probably don't want to hear that, but
it's just a word choice, but it is like there's truth into it. You know?
Yeah.
All right, final one is this is like only for those deep social media followers like me.
Uh-oh.
You love to comment on photos that don't have photo credit with who took the photo. Why do you get so stuck up about the photo credit?
Well, to be honest, I'm just a bit of a troll. And it's just a funny way to troll. There's really not, like I said, there's not much thought to it other than like, I guess part of it is like, I think it's so funny how people like if it's a professional photographer, at a race and you want to give them photo credit, like I completely understand that. But if you're just like with your family and someone grabs a picture, it's your friend on your iPhone at a wedding, it's like, do you really need to give them photo credit? Like, it's kind of silly.
Like photo credit mom.
Yeah. So like, I think part of it is that like, let's, we don't need to like always give photo credit, and then of course I'm saying who took it, but I don't know. It's just not, I don't know. It's funny to me. It makes me laugh. If it doesn't make you laugh, which it probably doesn't, that's fine too.
It makes me laugh. I love seeing trolling people on there. So keep doing it, just even for my sake. And
yeah, I mean, I wasn't planning on stopping. So
all right, cool. Maybe I'll try and contribute with a rule thought in the next couple months. All right, cool. I have one more topic here that I want to hit before we wrap up. What does 2025 look like? I know you're racing your first, well, not first, but your first Ironman 70.3 coming up at Indian Wells. Like, what does the end of this year look like? What does next year look like? And I guess, what does the build up to LA look like?
Yeah. So to answer the LA question, I don't know. I'm kind of taking it I'm more taking it living in the present. I know that's kind of cliche and all that, but I think after Tokyo, I was so obsessed with Paris. And I think it's more, for me, where I'm at in my career, I think it is more freeing and positive to not just have this one major goal of LA. So, I mean, I don't know if I'll be there. I don't, who knows? But when I looks at next year, my main goal is just like, again, cliche, but just really to improve as an athlete, and just, I think also is just improve and like enjoy it. And, part of that, like you mentioned, I'm doing the half Ironman next month, which I think will be, I don't expect much out of myself. I think it'll be really hard. Like I've only had the bike for a week now, and, who knows how, I think I could do well. I think I could fail miserably. We'll see. But that's partially why I'm doing it, kind of like an exploration. And, I mean, hopefully at least I don't hate it. And I would love to do, some more 70.3s next year that might complement, a short course year. I mean, the nice thing about those races compared to the short course is there's more in the US.
Yeah.
I know we talked about, the travel to China and, Abu Dhabi, like, there's one in Oceanside, there's one in Boulder, there's, these races that are not, thousands and thousands of dollars to go to. So yeah, I would love to do that. I'd even love to keep doing some running races. And I actually would love to do Super League. I've only done one. And it's always just kind of hard, like between my injury, like between the Olympics and getting hurt and COVID, it's just like I feel like I should have done it more by now. I did one, but it just kind of like never really worked out. So I'd hopefully hopefully I can get on a few Super League start lists next year.
Yeah.
If not the whole series. So yeah, I think next year is just about growth as an athlete, not putting too much pressure on myself, just trying to be more consistent in racing and, be healthy and just like enjoy it. I mean, I don't know how much, I think if I do LA or not, I think I'll be finished after that. So it's like, it's not that much more time to do it. So I better enjoy it.
Yeah. What do you think you can run in Indian Wells in the 70.3?
Oh, that's a great question. I think it's a slow.
It's like, I did it last year. It's pretty cross country. You'll love it. It's
like a golf course, right?
It's a golf course, but the golf course section isn't that long. It's probably only about 4 miles total of golf course, and it's like half path, half grass.
Yeah.
And it's pretty lumpy. It's steep, short punchers.
Yeah, so my girlfriend's a great runner, and she's run 69:52 and a half, which is like for a woman really fast.
Yeah.
But that's my goal, to beat her open half.
You just ran 101. Certainly you got a 105 in you.
A 105. Listen, that bike, if I can make it through the bike and be like, not like you said, oh, it's not your first long course race. I did Daytona in 2020, and I was like, I couldn't walk for like 3 weeks because my legs were so messed up, and I didn't even finish the bike, let alone the run. All so right. I am not putting pressure on myself. Yes, 65, I would love to do that, but I just want to have a positive experience.
Yeah, that's a good goal for the first 70.3. All right, before we wrap up the podcast here, I know you got to get out of here. I've got 6 rapid fire questions. You ready?
Yeah.
Favorite John Mayer song?
Why Georgia?
Good one. You're a John Mayer guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. It was my first concert ever.
Really?
Yeah.
He wasn't my first, but he was one of them.
Yeah, shout out John Mayer. All right, what is the most recent thing you've Googled?
Ooh, so I'm trying to move my treadmill into the basement, so I'm trying to find someone who can like take it apart. And yeah.
Was that the electrician?
Yeah, they're putting
you need like the special plug.
Yes. So they're doing that in the basement, and now we got to get the treadmill down there.
Yeah. I got a guy for that. Unless you got
that
one.
Can move the treadmill?
Yes, and an electrician who can install the plug.
Well, definitely the guy that can move it.
Okay.
Because we have the plug guy.
Yeah, I got a guy. What is your favorite rule? I asked you that already. And what number it is? That was number 7, correct?
Yeah.
All right, cool. And then what's the shortest and longest run you've logged as a real run?
I would say the longest I've ever run is 20. I did 20-mile long run in college once. The shortest, 4K.
Okay.
I think anything other than 4K, stay at home.
Yeah, I'm with you. I had a coach once who was giving me consistent 15-minute runs, so that was
that's like
3K.
Yeah. I mean, for some people maybe, but for me, 4K.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. This is a audience question. What is a lazy man meal?
Yeah. So when I was like right at college, like I'd make these dinners, and they were just like meat, like a protein, a veggie, and a carb, and it's like how quick you can make it. So like you might like bake chicken, do like steamed veggies, and like microwave rice, and it like it takes like no effort, and it's a lazy man. So like that's kind of like a healthy meal that's minimal effort, and
no cleanup. Easy.
Yeah, exactly. Lazy.
All right. Who is the most talented runner, triathlete, or cyclist residing in Boulder right now, and why?
Oh, probably Nagoose. Actually, no, Helen O'Beary.
I thought Helen for sure.
I did some training with her, and 61. Okay, I'm not like as fast as the best guys, but like she's a freak, man. Or maybe Taylor Knibb. Yep. Those two girls are like, they're the freaks.
100%. All right, well, that's all the rapid fire I got for today. Morgan, thank you very much for coming on the podcast. This was fun, man.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
All right, of course. Peace.